listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the post-game wrap-up show here at DolphinsTalk.com. The Miami Dolphins lose 20-12 to the Houston Texans, all but ending their 2024 season and any chance of making the playoffs. I am your host, Michael Leva, joined as always by Tom Ernest. Tom, how you doing today?
I am good, Mike. I think Salty Tom's going to be coming out a lot in this post-game show. Other than that, it was, your typical Sunday of watching the Miami Dolphins piss away their season.
Yeah, we got the Miami Dolphins play a good team, and they lose. You can set your clocks to it. It's not a surprise. This is their identity. This is who they are, and that's not going to change unless some of the big people who make a lot of money with the Miami Dolphins are no longer here. But we're going to talk about all of that and much, much more on this edition of the post-game wrap-up show. But before we get to any of that, a quick word from our sponsor.
The DolphinsTalk.com podcast network is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, and all of the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a birthday gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive, Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Not in South Florida? No worries. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home, and they'll ship it to you. International fans, too. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com.
Okay, one bit of housekeeping before we start. We here at DolphinsTalk.com have been nominated for not one, but 2 sports podcast awards. And we need your help to vote because they picked the winners on voting. We are very appreciative for being nominated for Best Team Podcast and Best American Football Podcast. And hey, don't take it out on us because the team stinks. Vote for us here at DolphinsTalk.com to win 1 or 2 of these awards. I'm going to put the links up here in the chat. If you're watching on YouTube, they're, of course, all over our social media, on my social media, on Tom's, on Ian's. You can find it very easily. It takes a second to vote. Just click each link. There's 2 links. Vote for DolphinsTalk.com. We'd very much appreciate it. So thank you very much. Before we get to the game, just some quick things here. We have no new news on wide receiver Grant Dubose. If we hear any at any point in the show, we'll pass it along. And in today's game, Kendall Lamb and Teron Armstead were both inactive and did not play. So really, aside from that, though, no real surprises with the inactives. So, Tom, I'll let you go first, as we do most of on these shows. A little bit of a venting session every time we lose here. Yes, I see we already got some super chats. If anyone sends in a super chat, we will read it eventually. Might not get to it right here at the top, but we will read it eventually. So, Tom, I'll let you go first. Get it all off your chest and tell us your thoughts on this loss and pretty much the end of the 2024 season.
You have to do me a favor first.
Uh-oh, what's that?
Play the clip.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know which clip. Well, which one?
Play
I got them both. Hold on. I got to first. Let's play the 2023. Then I'll play the 2024. So we got full context.
Well, I think you guys are probably more worried than we are, in terms of, at the position depth at those spots you talked about.
And that was 2023. Then we're going to double down.
We're confident in the offensive line. So again, it's just one of those. It's Mike and I just we always kind of chuckle. I know you guys made a joke about me saying that you guys are more worried about it than we are, but internally, that's how we feel about our group here as a team.
And to top it off, let me just play this one.
Hero of the Stupid.
All right, Tom, go ahead.
Okay, so let's begin. Pivotal game in December. What's missing, Mike? Your top 2 starting offensive tackles. Number 1, let's start off with the injury report. You're missing Teron Armstead, and you're missing Kendall Lamb, who's right tackle number 2. And so we're going to begin there. You don't even have your top tackles in a game where you have the number 2 pass rushing defense in football. So what did we expect coming into this game is exactly what we got. Pressure, 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 pressure. Let's move off the offensive line. Let's get to the quarterback. I have been a big fan of Tua Tagovailoa since he was drafted. I think he has a lot of very good intangibles. Today reared its ugly head. The biggest intangible he's missing is winning in pivotal games when it matters most. And today he absolutely shit the bed. 4 turnovers is inexcusable. I will give a little grace on the final one. Tyreek had the ball in his hands, but we'll get into that later. Tua played poorly. The execution of the offense was not great. The Dolphins had chance after chance because the defense, for all intents and purposes, played a very good football game, in my opinion, today. They held Joe Mixon in check. They were sacking C.J. Stroud. They did their job. You know who didn't do their job again today, Mike? Danny Crossman. On 4th and 2, how in the, I want to say it so bad, do you not have a call for spies on a punt situation when the Texans are in your territory on 4th and 2 and a guy just takes off for 30-plus yards? That right there, on top of the turnovers on offense, sealed the Dolphins' fate in this game. Now, they had a nice touchdown drive to Jonnu Smith. Nice ball by Tua. Great. What happens after that? Jason Sanders misses a damn extra point. Compounding issues on compounding issues. You can't run the ball for more than 3 yards. You don't give the quarterback more than 2 seconds before someone's in his damn face. And on top of all that, the execution and decision-making in this game by the quarterback put his team behind the 8 ball. And the Dolphins' season goes up in flames. And now let's talk about the 425 games that were going on today too, Mike. If the Dolphins would have just taken care of business, they would have been in much better position when the Colts lost to the Broncos and the Chargers lost to the Bucs. Everything fell the right way, except for the one most important damn thing is win a football game in December. But we'll start at the top, because that's where all these decisions happen. Every single player that has injury proneness gets signed to this football team year in and year out. And this is what you get. Your top 3 tackles don't play a meaningful game in December. Austin Jackson, I hope you feel better, buddy. They do miss you on the offensive line. Your interior guards are on their ass. Liam Eichenberg got shoved into Tua Tagovailoa on that fumble within 2 seconds of the snap. Let it sink in and marinate. But hey, they're not worried about the offensive line. And then when it comes to Mr. Stephen Ross, it'll be the same song and dance this offseason. They'll find the excuses. So Tua got hurt in week 2. The team went 1-3 down the stretch without him. And then Tua comes back, and the Dolphins are playing much better football. And then they shit the bed against the Houston Texans, who won the AFC South today. Year in and year out, it is the same blunders, and it's because of the person in charge. He should have been gone at the end of 21 when Brian Flores was fired. They should have shown Chris Grier the door at that point and let someone else make the decisions for this football team. They didn't do it. Not they. Stephen Ross didn't do it. And this is why we are where we are in 2024 with the season coming to a close, because I don't care what the odds are, they don't have a shot to make the playoffs. It's done. It's time to look forward to the draft. But I'll look forward to the draft if someone else is making those damn picks, because Chris Grier does not deserve to be the general manager of this football team. He doesn't even deserve to be the general manager of a high school football team, period. He should be making decisions, and the guy that does make the big decisions, it's Stephen Ross, is not going to be making any changes come tomorrow morning. Mike, the floor is yours.
I got a perfect spot for Chris Grier to work. 6 rental car. He's fitting perfect over there.
Oh, they
yeah, that's why he'd fit in perfect. Okay. Big game on the road in December. Miami loses. Feel like we've been down this road before. And here's the thing that really gets you if you're a fan of the Dolphins. Houston didn't even bring their A game today. Houston actually played like garbage, and Miami still lost. And I feel like Miami gave this game away. Miami just can't be good teams with Mike McDaniel and Tua. And, that's just a fact at this point. I've seen various stats. I don't know the exact one. 3 for 15 against teams with winning records the past since he's been here. McDaniel, I saw one was 1 for 17 the past 27 months. Whatever, it's bad. It's really, really bad. That's all I know. And I want to start off with the positive here. And after a miserable performance last week, Miami Dolphins on defense today, Anthony Weaver had the boys ready, and they played a heck of a game. They held Joe Mixon to 1.9 yards per carry. They held Joe Mixon only 23 rushing yards. They held C.J. Stroud to only 131 passing yards. The Dolphins defense actually showed up today and played good enough to win. Really, they played good enough to win. They should not hang their heads in shame. They went to Houston against a good team, and they actually showed up. That's pretty much all the good. Special teams, they get an F. Missed extra point, fell for a fake punt, which everybody in this freaking stadium knew was coming. Penalties on returns, par for the course for Miami's special teams. Big game, big moment, big spot. They will let you down. Mike McDaniel, I never want to hear the word accountability come out of his mouth again if our special teams coordinator, Danny Crossman, is employed on Monday. Period. End of story. If Mike McDaniel has any balls, he fires this guy tonight or Monday morning. At some point, the mistakes are just so overwhelming. You got to let the guy go. That's defense, that's special teams. Now let's get to the big disaster of the day, which was the offense. And yes, the offensive line was down to a third-string right tackle and a backup left tackle. But honestly, they weren't even the worst offensive linemen on the field. The 2 worst offensive linemen on the field today were Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones, your regular starters. And that's what's sad. So I can't even use the backup tackles as an excuse today. It was the regular starters who screwed that up there. And then there's the elephant in the room. And folks, we don't get nominated for 2 podcast awards for telling you what you want to hear, for wish casting, or just spinning everything. So if you get triggered by this stuff, probably just turn the show off. Tua sucked today with 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and one fumble. And if you want to play the game, well, the last interception is really not his fault. Well, the fumble was his fault of Liam Block. Go ahead and play that game. I ain't playing it. And most normal Dolphins fans ain't playing it. They're over it. They're tired of it. He gets treated like every other player, except he makes $232 million, so he's really not like every other player. If you want to make endless excuses for Tua, we probably aren't the show for you. Just telling you what it is. If you want to hear his ass kissed all day, there's other shows who will do that, and they are and they get 5 stars because they kiss his ass nonstop. He sucked today. His turnovers led directly to points. The fumble led to a touchdown. 1 interception led straight to a field goal. That's 10 points right there. You lose by 8. You ain't got to be a mathematician, folks. When you pay a quarterback $235 million, whatever the number comes out to be, you don't expect 4 turnover games in big games. And Tua is always talking about killing narratives. Miami down 8, 4 minutes left. Tua did nothing on that drive. Miami down 8, 2 minutes left. Tua threw an interception to end the game. Tua had 2 golden opportunities to kill narratives. I know the offensive line wasn't great. I know he's down a couple wide receivers. So what? You're making all that money. Step up and make a stinking play. He didn't even get us to midfield. Special teams was bad. The offensive line was bad. I get it. Quarterbacks are paid different. They're graded different. They're held to a higher standard. Tua came up small in the big moment. Again, this is problematic. And for those fans who, aren't Pollyanna and level-headed, you sort of saw this coming last week because versus a horrible Jets team, even though I wasn't here on the post-game wrap-up show, I said it on the show I did Monday, Miami was 1 of 9 on third downs, except for the final drive, which he got him in field goal range, and the drive in overtime, which was great. The offense sucked last week too. So for those fans who, who are able to take off the rose-colored glasses, we saw this coming last week. The offense was bad last week, minus 2 drives, and it was bad pretty much all of today. So it's not that shocking. The 2024 Dolphins were doomed to fail all the way back in March. Chris Grier is an abject failure as a general manager. Mike McDaniel is a bottom-tier NFL head coach. Their vision is flawed. The roster construction is flawed, and this combination of those two is not working. There needs to be changes. Will there be changes? Probably not, but there needs to be changes. And Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, here's a fun fact for you. He had this after the game. The Dolphins have drafted 32 players during the first 5 years of the rebuild, not counting the rookies this year. So 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23. Just seven of those 32 were in uniform today, and not one of them did anything that made a tangible difference in this game. Biggest game of the year, a game where Houston didn't even show up really. They just capitalized off all of our mistakes. Not one of Chris Grier's draft picks of the 32 from 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 did anything today. Now, Patrick Paul played well. Washington played well. They're rookies from this past year. Great. But, the bulk of you can't be counting on rookies in their rookie year in a big game in December. Everyone else from the previous 5 years pooped the bed. And I'm sick of hearing excuses for the general manager. I'm sick of hearing excuses for the head coach because he ain't any good either. And I'm really sick of hearing excuses for the quarterback. I know he played a few good games of late since he came back from the injuries. That's great. He ain't a $232 million quarterback, folks, and that's the problem. You can win with him. You can win games. And as I say, nobody beats up on bad teams like Mike McDaniel and Tua. You put them in a big spot against a good team, you ain't winning. The best bet, safest bet today on the board was Houston minus 2.5 because Miami just doesn't beat good teams. So now we got 3 games left. We'll see where it goes from here. Chris Grier should not be employed. It makes no sense to fire him now. If they wanted to, you could. But I don't think he will get fired. But, after the week 18 game or whatever, if he's still employed, I don't care who they sign. I don't care who they draft. I don't care what they do this offseason. If you go into next year with Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel, you ain't winning squat because the problems is not the players. Yeah, the players don't perform well. They're not the best players in the world, and they have their issues. The problem is you got a head coach who's a deer in the headlights on the sideline, who's not even an offensive coordinator, let alone a head coach, because some of the play calling is still mind-boggling. He's a deer caught in the headlights. He's so consumed with his offense, he can't get plays in that time, let alone we could call it goddamn audible. So he's lost. The general manager's been here forever. I know he's only been a GM since 2016. Some people want to give him a pass. He's only been the real GM since 2019. You can start the clock whenever you want. As that staff from Barry Jackson says, he stunk the whole time. It don't matter when you want to start the clock. He stinks. The owner, he's selling off parts of the team because he's making a money grab. He don't care anymore. He's checked out. This organization is so far from being good, it's not even funny, and it starts at the top. And if he's going to keep Grier and if he's going to keep McDaniel, it ain't going to be better next year. So I know it's the offseason in March. We'll be excited for free agents. Oh, we signed this guy. Oh, we signed that guy. It'll be fun. And then the draft, we got 10 picks right now. Oh, we got this guy. It'll be fun. But roll around to September when the games start. We're going to be right back here because nothing's changing. You cannot win in this league with a small, undersized, fast team. You will never win outside in the cold versus a small, undersized, fast team. You'll beat up on the bad teams. Bring on the bad Raiders. Bring on the bad Patriots. Bring on the bad Jets. We'll just overwhelm them with speed and everything. Go play the Bills. Go play Houston's of the world, who didn't even play great today. Go play any good team. Go play the Ravens. You can't win. You got to be tough. You got to have size. Big, fast guys are better than little, fast guys. That's football. And I don't care. PFF, analytics, ESPN, next-gen stats, they ain't ever changing. Ever. So that's where we are. Probably a losing season because I don't think we're going to be over 500. But even if we are, who cares? Not making the playoffs. That's all that matters. And we're back to square one where we were in 2019. Yeah, we got a little more talent, but on the outside of the playoffs looking in, and the future ain't looking all too bright because we don't got the right people calling the shots. And if anyone wants to argue with me, if anyone wants to send me nasty emails, nasty tweets, oh, you're a hater, you're not a real fan, go for it. Because if you think that way, you're part of the problem and you ain't part of the solution because you accept this stuff and let this organization piss in your face for a year 25 now without making the playoffs, and you have no standards and you have no expectations and are okay accepting the losing.
Minor correction. Not winning a playoff game. They have made the playoffs, but again, it doesn't matter. They still haven't won a playoff game.
People understand what I meant.
Yeah. The overwhelming sentiment from this fan base is they have to move on from the general manager, right? They don't care enough because we keep mindlessly spending money on their t-shirts, their jerseys, their hats, and everything else. We put money in that team's pockets, and they just keep doing it. That potentially can change, and it can start next week if you just don't show up to the games. I'm not telling you that's going to be a bad fan, but if you want to make changes, that's where it begins. Look at Carolina, for instance. Okay? Carolina, how many fans were at one of their games last year? Not even like 10,000? Because they just had enough. They had enough. I mean, they're not any better this year, but again, point is proven. Don't give the billionaires your hard-earned dollars. At some point, that has to resonate, and they have to make the changes. And Stephen Ross has been the owner of this football team since what, Mike, 2020?
08 or 09.
08 or 09. And they have not produced a winning product when it matters the most. But he still keeps the one piece employed. The one. There's one singular person that is still in this building since he has come to Miami. And that is Christopher Grier, who is sitting on a perch and not getting knocked off of it. If anything resonates today with Stephen Ross, is that he being Chris Grier, should not be making football decisions going forward. My only worry is they're going to fire Chris Grier and they're going to bring an internal hire as a Band-Aid for 2025. That is my concern.
I mean, I have no faith in hiring the right person if he goes outside. Anyways, you got people in this fan base want Louis Riddick. Nothing against Louis Riddick. I'm sure he's a nice person. Folks, and I know he's going to meet with the Jets on Monday. Let him meet with the Jets on Monday. I don't want nobody from TV. I want someone who's actually been involved in an NFL front office in the past, 10 years actively working. I don't want some guy who's been sitting on a TV set. Nothing against Louis. It's just, you're just asking for trouble. But the problem is, I don't think he's getting rid of either one of them. So I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it because I just don't think he's getting rid of either one of them. No. I think there's a lot of reasons why, some of which we will talk about, some of which I can actually. I think the main reason is he just extended the head coach, and I'm bet my guess when he did that, they quietly extended the general manager so everyone's deals line up. I think that's one reason why they won't fire him, because they just paid him probably both, even though we don't know about Grier. Safe bet, if you extend one, you probably extended the other to have him line up. That's number one. Number two, this quarterback, for everything, his only quality play comes from this head coach. And I think they're afraid if you rip this head coach away from him, he's going to go back to being the quarterback he was under Brian Flores. And you can't pay him all that money, over $50 million a year, and have this fear that this guy's going to go back in his shell and he'll be back in front of a mirror going, I don't know, man, if I suck or not. To grow up. I mean, seriously, just play for a head coach. And I know people say, yeah, but he played for Nick Saban. Long time ago, different circumstances. So I think there's a lot of reasons why they won't get rid of these folks. And there's also one reason, which I won't go into here. But if we don't, which I expect, it's going to be tough to be excited for next season, especially with the Bills looking like, they're a young team. They got the best quarterback in the league. I think arguably now, I think he's past Mahomes on some level. I think Pat Mahomes in a big game, you still want him. But from regular seasons, I think there's very little debate. Josh Allen, at least for this year, is the best quarterback in the league. You got a monster inside of your AFC East. The Patriots got a young quarterback who's showing promise. They got like a ton of money to spend, a bunch of picks. They're going to get good quick. The Jets are a mess, but you know what? So are we. So I can't laugh at them. They're just as big a mess as we are, folks. The only problem is they got an old guy in Rodgers and we got a young guy in Tua. They're just as big a mess as we are. So at the end of the day, I think it's going to be tough to get excited going into next season because no matter what they do, if this GM and head coach is there, even if they got rid of the GM but they keep McDaniel, it's going to be tough because McDaniel stinks too. I mean, that's what folks had to open their eyes. McDaniel stinks. I mean, from Thanksgiving night he delay a game on 4th and 4, one of the boneheaded things that could a head coach do when he's standing arm in arm right next to a referee, to some of the stuff he does here. We've turned this offense. We paid all these wide receivers. We just run screen passes now to Achane. Little bubble screen, sideways pass. Screen pass to Achane. Achane. And I know these teams have taken away Hill and Waddle. Part of the reason is because, everyone's caught on to his offense, and he has yet to come up with a counter move. Well, if that's the case, why are we paying all this money to these wide receivers then? If he couldn't come up with a counter move to get them the ball and put them in space, and he's just so hyper-focused on the offense, he can't get any plays in on time. It's an utter mess. Time management's awful with him. Never wins a challenge. It's very rare. It's like seeing freaking Haley's Comet at this point with him. And it's just offensive line's a mess. They just don't. The whole thing's a mess. There's the whole thing is an utter mess. And I know they're going to point to, well, we lost our quarterback in 4 games. Yeah, because he won't slide. And what did he do today? He didn't even slide today. He ain't going to learn. When they're losing, and you can tell Tua's in a pissy mood, he ain't sliding because he's in a pissy mood and because he wears it on his sleeve and he just dives head first. He ain't slide. You're never going to teach him to slide all the time. It is what it is, but that's where this season went off the rails way back in March. Here's a stat from Barry Jackson. Mike McDaniel. No, this is for Tua. 1-10 against playoff teams the past 2 years. 1-6 last season. 0-4 this season. Lost to the Bills twice, Green Bay and Houston. Of those 11 games, he only played well enough in the second game versus the Bills. In the one win versus the Cowboys last year and against Green Bay on Thanksgiving, he was okay. He wasn't good enough in any of the 8 others, which include scoring outputs of 17 versus Philly, 20, 14 and 10 versus the Bills, 14 and 7 versus Kansas City, 19 against the Ravens, and 12 today versus Houston. On a date today where he had 4 turnovers. That's your answer, folks. You got a head coach who's bad. You got a general manager who's clueless. You got a quarterback who can't beat good teams. You can build up the rest of this roster to be the 85 Bears. You ain't beating nobody who's any good. If you're bad at GM, bad at head coach, and just okay at quarterback, you got no chance in this league.
It's a hard pill to swallow, unfortunately, but that's just.
We got a large enough sample size to say it's true.
Yes, 100%. We have as a fan base, we have really nothing left other than hope, and hope that there's changes. There just won't be because they haven't done it. Stephen Ross has not made the one singular change, the one common denominator since 2009, since he arrived, and that has been Chris Grier. He's still here, and until that time comes that we all see that message from Adam Schefter that Miami Dolphins have fired general manager Chris Grier, we are going to be doing this song and dance, just like Mike said. We're going to get amped up in March because we're going to either trade for a big-name player or we're going to sign all these great free agents, and the Dolphins are looking so much better on paper. And then we get to the draft, and they're drafting, 6'3", 215-pound wide receivers and all this. Oh, man, we're fixing everything. The offense is going to be much better now because We're taking away some of the deficiencies that they've had at wide receiver. Yada, 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 yada. Oh, man, they're bringing in these trench players. Oh, wait, no, they won't, because you know what? We're more worried about it than they are.
Yes.
And honestly, Mike, the one key factor in all of these games since 2020 and why they haven't won in big spots is because they are weak up front and the deficiencies bleed in those big moments because they are not built to win against these teams. Philadelphia, Baltimore, Buffalo, especially a team in your division like Buffalo. Pittsburgh, the Chiefs. You're just not beating these football teams when it matters most. Why? Because they kick your ass up front on both sides of the ball. Now, today, not the defense's fault. Not saying that. Just over time, you don't build the trenches. What was the biggest thing that Bill Parcells did in 2008 when he came in? He built the trenches. He put some freaking monsters on that offensive line. And you got decent play out of the offensive line. You had a solid running game. You had a quarterback that was efficient, right? That's the other thing too, is efficiency. Efficiency, great. Quarterbacks are efficient. I want guys like freaking Joe Burrow. I want a guy like Josh Allen. I mean, he's an alien. You're never going to find another one. But that is the type of crap that Chris Grier avoids. He comes from the Bill Parcells tree. How do you not build the trenches year in and year out? That's why your running backs are averaging 3 yards a carry this year. That's why your quarterback doesn't have a time worth of damn to try to throw the football down the field when he's got defenders in his face. Aaron Brewer is a good signing, okay? He's been good.
But he's undersized, and he fits their scheme. If they want to change schemes next year, Aaron Brewer's a fish out of water.
I wouldn't even – I'm not even – worried about Brewer at this point, whether they change the scheme or not. It's the fact that they gave Liam Eichenberg the right guard job because they just, they wanted to give him confidence. They wanted him to do, they wanted to, just keep building him up and to say that they're standing behind him because they traded up into the second round to freaking draft this clown. And he's on his ass, or he's getting pushed back into the quarterback less than 2 seconds after the ball is snapped. And then Robert Jones, God bless him. It's not his fault, but he's not a starting left guard in football. But the fact that he is a starting left guard on this football team is the problem. It's the problem. Why is Robert Jones starting? He's a good, capable backup player. He's not a starter. And why isn't Isaiah Wynn playing?
Well, that's the other thing. Once again, I don't want to hear Mike McDaniel ever use the word accountability again. Wynn's finally, after all these months, Wynn's actually on the team and active and can play. Eichenberg has arguably the worst half he's ever had in his life, and that says a lot in the first half of this game. He's had some bad games. He's the worst first half he's ever had in his life. Why do you stick with him and don't go to – it couldn't have got worse with Wynn. It could not have gotten worse. And for a guy like Mike McDaniel, who, adversity is an opportunity, he's always talking about accountability. Crossman, Eichenberg. Eichenberg was an easy one. Just put Wynn in at least after halftime. You could have made the call in the first half if you wanted to. But okay, at halftime, let's regroup, get Wynn out there. No. And then, of course, with Crossman, like I said, I'll give him the Monday morning. After that, I give up. At some point, you can't help someone who does not want to be helped. And our head coach does not want to be helped. He wants to go down with the ship. He can go down with the ship. There's a lot of head coaches who've been fired after 1 year. There's been, which is not him. There's a lot of head coaches, though, who've been fired after they've gotten a long-term extension. That is him. If he doesn't think, well, they just gave me a long extension, they're not going to fire me. Like hell, they won't. Some head coaches have been fired after 1 season. They had 5-year deals when they signed. Nobody cares. And
Frank was fired on his first year.
Well,
it's
the guy for Arizona, what's his name there? Wilkes. And Mike Munchak, I think, with either Tennessee or Jacksonville. I can't remember. Yep. After 1 year, he was shown the door. A lot of guys go after 1 year. And it comes down to this. When most head coaches new head coaches take over, they walk into an utter dumpster fire. Mayo with the Patriots, or not? Mayo with the Patriots walked into a mess. Antonio Pierce walked into a mess. Brian Daboll with the Giants walked into a mess. Eberflus with the Bears no head coaches walk into great situations usually. McDaniel walked into a situation with a 10-win team and a 9-win team in back-to-back years. They trade for Hill, who's going to Canton. They trade for Ramsey. They trade for Chubb. He has more talent than this organization has had on one singular team since the Shula years. Some would say the JJ years. I'm not going to split hairs. You pick. That's over 20-something years ago. He walked into a glorious situation, which most first-year head coaches don't. And that's why he doesn't get the honeymoon. That's why he doesn't get the, we're coming up on the last 3 games of year 3, and I still see some fans go, well, he's got to learn. Got to learn. If he hasn't learned by now, he's been an assistant for 20-something years. He's still got to learn. Year 3's almost over. He still got to learn. He ain't got to learn. He just ain't any good. He just ain't any good. And I think, fans got to realize that. I know he's a nice guy. He tells great jokes. He dresses up fashion. And God, you put him up on a mic'd up moment. Fans, oh my God, I'm so happy. He's so funny, Mike. Did you hear what he said to Max Crosby? Oh, he's so funny. Who gives a fuck? Seriously. He doesn't win enough games. Well, I don't care if he's funny during a mic'd up moment. Win a game. Put a play in on time. Jesus Christ. Win a challenge. I mean, come on, man. This guy, I don't care how, he's really funny. Who cares? I want to win. I mean, that's what it's about.
All right. I've got a plan. Before we go into the game, I got a plan. Someone go into Danny Crossman's office and plant some baby powder on his desk. And then have some random woman call him and just let the chips fall where they may.
How's that girl from the Duke lacrosse case? She gets one phone call, right? I saw she's back in the news. Okay, we got let's get to one of the super chats before we forget, because I know we got a ton of comments here. Patrick Mullen, this type of offense you have to build around his limited talent set, rhythm passing, blow it up, and take the salary hit on Tua on March 14th. I mean, look, if I were in charge, I would, but they won't. They won't. They're gonna ride this pony until they're all out of a job. That's what it's gonna be. They're gonna ride this pony which is fine. Look, I think they're committed to him, and they probably should be committed.
The 2026 is probably more likely. 2025, it's just too much money you have to eat, and you pretty much just cripple the football team at that point. Unless you're making the change, which they're not going to, Tua is going to be here next year. I think 99.5% chance that Tua is going to be here next year. Eating $80 million just isn't in the cards. That admits, that's on the owner, and that's, you're admitting your mistakes at that point. And Stephen Ross isn't one to be admitting his mistakes. So
it just makes 2025 a lost season.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Patrick. I wish we had better news for you, but the math doesn't know.
Yeah, it just makes next season just another lost season. And again, not a spoiler. Not a spoiler, folks. I mean, we've seen this. I mean, again, everyone will get excited around the draft. Everyone will be excited around March and free agency. Then come August when it's camp, everyone will be all excited for the reports when you're going to have 10,000 people with veteran rest days because God forbid we even practice hard, which is part of the problem. And then come September, we'll lose to good teams and we'll be back. Rinse, repeat. Nothing ever changes. Yeah. And that's the Miami Dolphins as long as these people are in charge. And when they're not here, I don't know. Maybe we'll win someday.
I will. One quick comment in the chat from Nick's. The Broncos are eating $90 million on Russell Wilson. Well,
they're
the Steelers are sitting at 10 and Steelers are 10-4. I know Russell Wilson at quarterback right now.
But, you know what though? Give it to the Broncos. That was a mistake. We're moving on from the mistake, and they're having a good year themselves with a rookie quarterback. Some owners get it, some don't. I'm not even saying not paying to. It's just. I would rather have an owner who would say, you know what, it's a lot of money. It was a mistake. Let's rip off the Band-Aid. Let's get past this and move on. I'd rather have that than us. We're going to stick with the GM and coach because we paid the quarterback and let's hope for the best. We can hope for the best all you want. It ain't going to come. But yeah, so let's get to the game. This ought to be fun.
Dolphins get the ball to start the game. They punt after a few plays. It started with a -3 yard run from HN, then a 6 yard run from HN, made it 3rd and 7. Tua hit Malik Washington for 8 in the first down. And then Tua was sacked on 3rd and 9. I'd have to rewatch that play. I can't remember exactly how the sack occurred, if it was quicker or not. I think that was the one he ran out of bounds, actually. So instead of throwing it away, but, situational football makes perfect sense there. The Texans get the ball, go down the field, get a field goal, 8 plays, 55 yards. Took 4 minutes, 11 seconds off the clock. Dolphins defense did a great job on 3rd and 2 from their 26, forcing the incomplete pass to Joe Mixon, and Fairbairn hits a 44-yard field goal. Dolphins go 3 and out. A drive actually started with a penalty on Channing Tindall on special teams. Congratulations,
Shocking.
Special teams. Number 1 first mistake. HN on 1st and 5 goes for 3, and then 2 consecutive incomplete passes. And after a Jake Bailey 59-yard punt, Tank Dell returns it for 23 yards because the Dolphins, again, can't tackle on special teams. So, Mike, I lead it to you. And the consistent problem, 3rd and 2, they had a 1st and 5 and could not get 5 yards in a first down. Whether it's play calling, whether it's execution, or both, they still can't get short yardages.
Yeah, it's both. I mean, you got a 1st and 5, you run HN, you get 3, 2nd and 2 pass, 3rd and 2 pass. I mean, they're not even trying. And again, here's the problem with the Dolphins. Don't stand up there, okay? Don't stand up there and tell me you're more worried about the offensive line than we are, and then not have the balls to actually run it on 2nd and 2. I mean, you can't have it both ways. And again, if Chris Grier is going to stand up there, not 1 year, but 2 years in a row, say you're more worried about the offensive line than we are, and do pretty much nothing with the offensive line of any substance, that you can't use as an excuse when Armstead's not there, who was talking about retirement. You extended and you put void years at the end of his deal. That's going to look great in a couple years. Lamb, you pretty much had to talk out of retirement to come back. It's like you can't use this as an excuse when they're not there. And then on 2nd and 2 in a big game, can't run the ball. Or you don't even try because, again, here's a real reason he won't try. He doesn't have any faith in the players. But then come March and April, they won't do nothing about it.
Yep, 100%.
Cycle of hell.
Again, we are now 6 weeks into this. One common denominator on the offensive line and why they haven't run the ball, Austin Jackson has been hurt. As soon as he went out, the Dolphins running game, by the way, at that point, I think we're top 5 in the NFL in rushing, and they've completely bottomed out after his injury. So, again.
Look, I like Austin Jackson and all, but if this is a house of cards where he meant everything, then that just proved the whole thing was built wrong. I mean, he's a nice player. It's not like he's freaking, it's not like he's Orlando Pace here.
But the fact that the dynamic changed that dramatically after he got hurt tells you all you need to know. The athleticism from Austin Jackson, I think, helped obviously fuel this run game. And without him, they've been absolute trash. You're relying on Kendall Lamb, who by all counts is going to be retiring after the end of the season, just like probably Teron Armstead. So you got to start over at tackle.
He shouldn't be back even if they don't retire.
I'll be interested to rewatch Patrick Paul's tape. I don't think he
wasn't the problem.
All that bad.
He wasn't.
But either way, after the Dolphins punt, the Texans punt on 3rd and 3. CJ Stroud was sacked by the one guy that always shows up, Mike, Zach Sealer. Please, let's get him to the Pro Bowl. He deserves a little payday, even though the Pro Bowl means nothing, but it does mean something for his paycheck. So let's get that man to the Pro Bowl. Dolphins get a 12-play, 45-yard drive that ended, unfortunately, on a field goal. On this drive, Tua hit Jonnu Smith on 2nd and 8 for 10 yards and a first down. Then hit Devon Achane for 9. Devon Achane gets the 1 yard for a first down to the 40. Devon Achane goes for 5. Then unnecessary roughness penalty after a 13-yard completion by Jackson Carman, and it was offsetting penalty, so the Dolphins have it at the 42-yard line. At the end of the first quarter, going into the second, Raheem Mostert gets into the action with a 7-yard run and a first down to the 30. then a 5-yard completion to Malik Washington, and then Mostert loses 2. It goes 3rd and 7. Tua scrambles for 6 yards, did not slide feet first, but it would all go for naught because on that play, offensive holding on Robert Jones pushes it back to 3rd and 16, and the Dolphins get nothing out of it, but Jason Sanders, who can't hit extra points, does make a 55-yard field goal, and the Dolphins tie the game up. Just a very frustrating drive, Mike. Again, I said it on social media. It seems like as the Dolphins gain momentum, there's always something that happens that pushes them back all season long. We didn't really feel it last year, but we certainly feel it this year.
This offense has taken a huge step back since last year, and I put it all on the head coach. I know the 4 games without the quarterback. Okay, put those games to the side. The offense still taking a step back. Hill had his worst year as a pro. Waddle hasn't done much outside of like 1 game here, 1 game there. Achan's been fine. Mostert doesn't even look like a guy who scored 21 touchdowns last year. He's fallen off a cliff. If it wasn't for Jonnu Smith, this offense would really be bad. But again, we didn't pay Jonnu Smith to be our number 1 option, and that's what he's been this year. And that just goes to show you why we're going to miss the playoffs. Jonnu Smith's a nice player. He's great. Love to have him on the team. Shouldn't be our number 1. Shouldn't be the number 1 guy on this offense when you're paying Hill and Waddle. And you literally just paid Hill and Waddle all this money. And it goes back to the head coach and the play caller, who other teams have figured him out, and he doesn't have a counter move. And he didn't have a counter move in year 1. He didn't have a counter move in year 2, and he damn sure didn't have one in year 3. So I have no hope he's going to have a counter move in year 4 to where they're going to play us this way. I still got to get the ball to Hill and Waddle. Oh, I can't. Well, that's on him.
Yep. The Dolphins get the ball after the 3-and-out by the Texans. It starts with an incomplete pass from Tua, but Mario Edwards was called for roughing the passer. Dolphins get life at the 41-yard line. Raheem Mostert goes for 6, and then after an incomplete pass on 3rd and 4, this is the one I brought up throughout the entire show. Tua takes the snap, and Liam Eichenberg is shoved into the backfield by Will Anderson, and Tua is hit from behind by Will Anderson, and the ball comes out, and the Dolphins turn it over. You got to have better ball security. If you're Tua Tagovailoa, you got to feel the pressure. You got to just eat it or throw it away. He didn't do it. Situational football once again. But the other underlying story here is Liam Eichenberg having his lunch money taken from him by Will Anderson on that play, Mike.
Yeah, he stinks. I mean, he stinks.
Awful. He's an awful football player. Awful.
He's not very good. If he's here, I mean, I cannot. I mean, if they re-sign him, then I'm out. Like, seriously, if they re-sign him, we're shutting this bad boy down because I can't take him seriously. They got to let him walk. He is Jesse Davis level bad at this point. He, not any good. Obviously, his brother got all the talent in the gene pool from the parents because it ain't him. And, and I admit, coming out of Notre Dame, he was a right tackle there. And he played great for 4 years. I think when we gave up like 1 sack at Notre Dame, some crazy stat like that. Yep. Great. When he went up a level, he couldn't do it. He failed at right tackle, failed at left tackle, he failed at left guard, he failed at right guard. They tried him at center, which I'm not even going to put on him because he's not a center, but okay. But he failed at literally every position on this offensive line. He is so bad. And if he's got family members watching, I am sorry. It's not personal. It's strictly business. He is not any good.
Nope. Texans do cash in, get a 4-play, 28-yard drive, ending in a C.J. Stroud pass to Nico Collins for the touchdown on a scramble drill, which we should talk about, Mike. What the hell was Jordan Poyer doing on that play?
Are you trying to get me wound up tonight? You want to see me have an aneurysm live on here? If we win one of these podcast awards, I'd like to be alive to receive it. Look, Jordan Poyer has been another brutal signing. I mean, he is this is not making it up. I don't care if you use PFF, ESPN Next Gen Stats, or just watch football like a human being with a brain. The worst safety in the NFL this year. The worst. And this was another example. Tom, you're going to get me to drink this whole bottle. here in the next hour of tequila. You keep mentioning Jordan Poyer and Liam Eichenberg. No, Poyer stinks. A terrible signing. Why we cut Marcus May? Once again, not a serious franchise. I know why. They want to hide Patrick McMorris on the roster. You couldn't have found someone else to cut. You could have cut Wynn if you have no intention of playing him. But okay.
All right, Mike. Hey, listen, we're just getting started with your aneurysms here, buddy. Dolphins do get a field goal on a 10-play, 52-yard drive. This was it. This drive? No, it wasn't this drive.
Who cares? We stink.
Yeah. I was looking for the moment that Dubose got hurt.
Oh yeah, I did just see something here. Oh, here's an update. So, Mike Florio on NBC Sunday Night Football in America, or whatever the heck that show is called, said all the vital signs are good, but that's all the reports we're getting. So, he's in stable condition, but there's really been no reports that he can move his limbs, I guess. I think that's what everyone's waiting for. So he's stable. That's good. All the vital signs are good. I think we're waiting for the next big report, hopefully coming here, that he does have movement, but that has not been confirmed. And I think that's where there's a lot of nerves. But yeah, I mean, look,
yeah.
And all kidding aside, I mean, I'm not going to put that on the quarterback totally. It's football. Everyone knows what they sign up for when you play. Everyone knows. That was a
pretty vicious hit.
It was a bad hit. It wasn't his best pass to it, but I'm not putting that on him. I ain't putting the whole thing on him, at least. It's a rough sport. You hate to see it happen. It did kind of ruin the day for me, at least, because you just don't want to see that with any player. But that was since Hamlin, that was as scary as anything we've seen. When they're ripping off the jersey and the pads on the field and hooking you up with an IV on, and they got the things there. I mean, that was as scary as it got. Yes. So prayers to his family. I know they're probably en route to Houston right now as quick as possible. And he just got back after being on IR pretty much all year. He just got back. So hopefully we get some good news here by the time we all wake up on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very scary situation. It's something you just don't want to see. It doesn't matter the jersey or the helmet logo or anything like that. This is pure entertainment for us. And the last thing you want to see is something like that happen. So I hope we do get that great news with Grant Dubose, and he is, it's good, stable, it's good, vital. We need to hear that he's got movement in his extremities. We don't want to see the worst come from this. No matter who the player is and who they play for, you just never want to see it. So the Dolphins do get the field goal at the 2-minute warning with Jason Sanders hitting a 36-yard field goal. On the 3rd and 10 play, Tua found Devon Achane, who fumbled the ball, but Aaron Brewer was there to fall on it to at least give the Dolphins an opportunity at a field goal. Now, this is where the rails come off. The Dolphins, after their field goal, the Texans get the ball. Stroud goes to Dalton Schultz to make it 2nd and 1. Dolphins get a stop on 3rd and 1. On 2nd and 1, and on 3rd and 1, a 10-yard completion to John Mechie gets it out to the 49-yard line, and then Stroud loses the football, and Jordan Brooks scoops it up and returns it to 11 yards to the Houston 38. So the Dolphins are in absolute business, and on the very first play, Mike, a 4-yard completion to Durham Smythe is called back because Liam Eichenberg has an offensive holding penalty to now make it 1st and 20. After a 7-yard completion to Hill, there was a defensive holding call, and it gives the Dolphins their yardage back, well, for the most part, but they get a fresh set of downs. On 2nd and 6, Tua Tagovailoa goes over the middle to Tyreek Hill, which was intercepted by Bullock and returned 68 yards. And thank you, Devon Achane, for your absolute speed and hustle to provide the Dolphins at least forcing the field goal attempt, which Houston does get 13-6. Mike, I'm at a loss for words on where the blame falls on that play. It was a good play by the Texans, but to me, it looks like the quarterback and the wide receiver are not on the same page at all. on that
Who was
play.
the wide receiver on that play?
Tyreek Hill.
We got two guys making a lot of money. It's on them. You got a
Unbelievable.
quarterback making a lot of money. You got a wide receiver making a lot of money. It's on them. I mean, not sugarcoating it, folks. It's on them. That is 100% on them. And you can't make those plays. Josh, I'm gonna find this stat. Hold on. Josh just had a good stat. I think he put up. I think it was Josh. Let me see if I can find it from the same old Dolphin show every Monday and every Monday and Thursday. This is per PFN 365, so that's where he got us from. So check out the folks at Pro Football Network. Tyreek Hill since 2022, since he joined the Dolphins. First teams with a winning record, including the playoff games. 153 catches, 1,991 yards, 10 touchdowns, 12 drops in 23 games. Tua in that same time span. First teams with a winning record, including the playoffs. 6-14. 66.2 completion percentage, 31 touchdowns, 19 interceptions, 7.4 yards per attempt. So, people can drink the Kool-Aid all they want when it comes to this stuff. When they play good teams and step up in class, they don't bring their best football. They regress. And you want guys who rise to the moment, who rise to the challenge, who, of course the numbers are going to go down some because you're playing a team that is better, improved. You're not going against the lowly Giants or the lowly Jets or whatever. I get it, but it can't be. You can't have 12 drops in 23 games and be like the highest paid or one of the highest paid wide receivers in football. As a quarterback, you can't be 6-14. Yes, and wins and losses is a quarterback stat. That's how we judge people. That's how we vote for Hall of Fames. That's just the world we live in. I'm sorry, folks. And I don't know, 66%. A 66.2% completion percentage. You got to rise to again. I don't need my starting quarterback to carry the team to a win every week, just a couple times a year.
Yeah. Well, we hit halftime, Mike. We got some thank yous to hand out.
We got things to do. Everyone, go to finevan.com, finevan.com, largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, a shout out to our friends at the I'm coughing. The I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. Also, wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether it's YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, we got a lot of people right now watching live. Smash that like button. Go there. Take a second. Smash the like button. Also hit the subscribe button as well. Thank you very much. Hit that little thumbs up and also hit the subscribe button. But if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Podbean, Podchaser, or one of the other hundreds of platforms are on, subscribe. Even though the season pretty much over, we still got a few games left, and we're going to have a busy off season. Hey, and if they fire Grier, we'll have a party on here. We'll party like it's 1999. Trust me, we'll have a giant party. You're not going to want to miss an episode. We'll keep you up to date with everything going on. And, Tom, after I finish that tequila I was drinking, maybe I'll drink some mellow seltzer. Oh, let me get to the front of this can. Some mellow seltzer. That's right. The seltzer that's taking America by storm. Mellow THC seltzer comes in wild berry, grapefruit, strawberry, mango, and half and half. A mix of madness, genius, and a little pinch of chaos to bring you the best sips in the universe. With 5 milligrams of THC in this drink, Mellow is revolutionizing the way you unwind. Each sip is designed to gently lift your spirits and ground your senses. Go to mellowseltzer.com for information on how and where to purchase.
And the game was lost as the second half started. The Texans get the ball at the Dolphins' 44-yard line after a couple first downs. It was 2nd and 2, incomplete to Nico Collins. 3rd down, incomplete to John Mechie, who had Jalen Ramsey beat at just off his fingertips. On 4th and 2, we know what happened. ESPN certainly doesn't know because they only have the play design on there, but Texans fake the punt, get it down to the Dolphins' 4-yard line. 40-yard run on a direct snap that was then handed off. The Dolphins ill-prepared for that situation, and the Texans march it into the end zone. Another touchdown pass to Nico Collins, making it 20-6. Danny Crossman, you certainly know how to coach, my friend. Mike, what the hell?
I feel like a broken record. He stinks. Bad at his job. Another guy is bad at his job. He's, he was here during Flores, survived that. Here during McDaniel, he survived out. It's not like this is like something recent. He's been bad all 3 years. He survived this. You have Sun Sentinel, David Hyde. He used a term that I've been saying for weeks. For those of you who have listened to this podcast, no, I've said it for weeks. Everyone's a little too comfortable in Miami. Mr. Crossman's a little too comfortable. He's the one who stood up at a podium earlier this year and said, I don't like to remind players of their mistakes in games. Well, God forbid we tell a millionaire he screwed up in the middle of a game. Let's talk about that on Wednesday at the team meeting. It's like you can't win with this laissez-faire type atmosphere, type attitude. He's bad at his job. A lot of guys are bad at their job. Chris Grier is bad at his job. Mike McDaniel's bad at his job. And Danny Crossman is probably worse at his job than those two combined. They are just bad at their job. And as long as he's employed, special teams will continue to be bad.
Dolphins get a touchdown drive, 11 plays, 73 yards, took 6:32 off the clock. And this was the drive that Grant Dubose was injured. Tua threw to him on a slant. Dubose got hit by Bullock. And a flag was thrown for unnecessary roughness on Bullock on the play. I'll be interested to see what the league decides to do with that. So the Dolphins get it at the 43-yard line after a long delay. Jonnu Smith with a 3-yard reception and then a 10-yard reception to Devon Achane. Devon Achane goes for 4 yards on 3rd and 6. Raheem Mostert for 4 yards, and Jackson Carman was called for offensive holding. So 3rd and 16, Tua finds Tyreek Hill for 21 yards and a first down. Really, second best throw he had of the game. 2nd and 9 goes complete to Jonnu Smith, but for no gain on 3rd and 9. Tua to Raheem Mostert for 2 yards. River Craycraft was called for a face mask, which was declined. Jason Sanders hits the field goal. But Trainer was offsides for the Texans, giving the ball 4th and 2 at the Houston 7. Tua on an off-script play finds Jonnu Smith 7 yards and the touchdown, and then Jason Sanders proceeds to kick the ball wide left. So it's 20-12. The Dolphins defense get a 3 and out. And before we get into the Dolphins' next drive, Mike, thoughts on the long drive? Obviously, we talked about the Dubose injury at this point, but a couple of big plays there from the quarterback, finding Tyreek Hill on 3rd and 16, and then Jonnu Smith on 4th down.
Yeah, probably his best drive of the game. Yeah, his best 2 throws of the game. I'm glad the head coach went for it on when it became 4th and 2. I'm glad he went for it because they weren't going to win this game with field goals. So I'm glad he went for it. So that makes sense. I'll give him credit for that. And that's a big time pass. Again, Jonnu Smith with another big touchdown there. That was their best. It's sad to say because that's the one where he got hurt. Our wide receiver got hurt there. They stopped the game for all that time, but that was their best drive of the game, or the best series of the game, I should say. Yeah.
So on that Houston 3 and out, I should mention C.J. Stroud was sacked on 3rd and 2 by Chop Robinson. So again, Chop has been making some impactful plays for the most part, especially over the last 2 months. He's been more impactful, and I think he's near the top of the NFL in pass rush win rate, which means he's applying pressure on the quarterback, which is now starting to lead to sacks. So kudos to Chop. The Dolphins get the ball, and they get a nice start to their drive. They get a first down to the 37-yard line on a 3rd and 1 run from Raheem Mostert. And then Durham Smythe with an 8-yard reception to end the quarter. On 3rd and 2, Tyreek Hill reception for 15 yards and a first down to the 40. Mostert for 2. Mostert gets a reception for 4 on 3rd and 4. Tua to Malik Washington, incomplete. They go for it on 4th down. Tua finds Jonnu Smith for 9 yards and a first down to the 25. It goes to 3rd and 5, and then Tua throws to the sideline, and it is intercepted by Derek Stingley. Ball was just thrown late. Stingley jumped the route. Big turnover by the quarterback. Can't have it there, Mike. That was the killer for the game.
Yeah, just can't. He had 2 opportunities late to make a big play. and he failed in both. So
Yep.
is what it is. And not only did they fail in both, one of them was a 3 and out, and one was a 1 play. I mean, he only had 4. He had the ball, down by 8 twice, and he only ran 4 plays, and one was a punt. So some guys got it, some guys don't got it, and you can make all the excuses in the world. He's got 2 high-priced wide receivers. One obviously was out this game. Waddle left with an injury, but most teams don't even have someone as good as Hill, so that's not an excuse. And they just can't get it done. Another loss, another end of the season. I think why this one hurts is because Houston didn't bring their A game. Houston did not.
They haven't over the last month and a half. Joe
Mixon's been running over everybody. He didn't run over us. CJ Stroud was missing wide open guys at times in this game. Literally, the only plays that he made Stroud were after our turnovers, and we gift wrapped them. Nice field position and just let them have points. This game was so winnable. And when you look at all these games we lose versus good teams, it's like this was the easiest one. This was gift wrapped for us. Literally gift wrapped for us. And they did nothing.
Let's get into the stats. And this is why we're we're so surprised by the outcome of this football game. The Dolphins had 18 first downs, Texans 12. Dolphins 4 for 13 on third down and 2 for 2 on fourth down. The Texans 5 for 13 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down. The Dolphins ran 62 plays for a grand total of 224 yards on 10 total drives. That's 3.6 yards per play. But wait, there's more. The Texans ran 50 plays for a whopping 181 yards on 11 drives, kneel down being the 11th drive, 3.6 yards per play. Quarterback play, brutal on both ends. Just unfortunately, Tua was the worst of the 2 quarterbacks in this game. 29 of 40 for 196 yards, 3 interceptions, and he was sacked 3 times for 24 yards. CJ Stroud, 18 of 26 for 131 yards. He didn't turn the ball over and got 2 touchdown passes. That's your story of the football game. Dolphins ran 19 times for 52 yards. Texans 20 times for 77. Dolphins in the red zone only twice, cashed in once. Texans 2 times, cashing in on 3 attempts. Penalties, 8 for 64 for the Dolphins, 7 for 70 for the Houston Texans. And where the games are won and lost, the turnover battle, 4 turnovers, all on the quarterback, and 1 for the Houston Texans on the bad snap. We got to give out a game ball, Mike. I don't want to, but we have to.
There ain't going to be anyone in offense, I'll tell you that. So I'm going Chop Robinson, 1.5 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. That's right, 4 quarterback hits in one game. I don't think Chop Robinson's going to win the defensive player rookie of the year, but he should be, in the conversation. But yeah, 1.5 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. Chop Robinson has come on, and he showed up today in a big game, and he gets my game ball.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to his counterpart, Zach Sealer. Almost the same stat line, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss. He only had 2 quarterback hits. But I'm with you on Chop Robinson. He deserves his flowers. If not from the national media, it should be coming from this fan base. At this point, in the situation that he was put in, with Jaylen Phillips going down, Bradley Chubb not playing this year, and they should also shut him down. That's a story for
I was going to get to that.
Do not play Bradley Chubb at all this year.
Chubb, because he's got to be cut at the end of the year. So
don't put him on the football field. It's not worth it now. But Chop Robinson was thrusted into a major role on this football team. And after a very slow start to the season, he's come on great over the last 2 months. He deserves his flowers.
Yeah. Chop's been outstanding. And, I always advise don't buy jerseys of current players because, as Tom will just say, it will it'll just never work out well because guys just are never here long. But if you're going to invest in one at your own peril, a Chop Robinson jersey is probably a safe one because I wouldn't invest in Hill. I wouldn't even invest in Waddle. I wouldn't invest in the quarterback. The only player, damn sure don't invest in someone like Holland. The only player probably worth investing in, well, there's 2, Zach Sealer or Chop Robinson. So I'd probably go Chop. He's younger. That's where I do that. Okay, here's a few other things. As of right now, this moment, the Dolphins are picking 11th in the draft with 3 games left. You don't think that's going to be too much of a variance? Because I think after, they won't admit it because they're going to say, we still got a 5% chance if they're out of the playoffs. I think they're going to start shutting guys down. I think Armstead, probably saw the last of him this year. I think Chubb obviously won't be coming back. I think Tyreek, we might have seen the last, although they did lose 2 wide receivers. They might have to play Tyreek another week or two. But I think maybe Tyreek's 1 or 2 more games. By week 18, I don't expect to see him. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the quarterback. He's healthy, but with this offensive line, you want to throw him out there in meaningless games, taking hits?
Down.
I wouldn't.
Down.
Maybe he plays 1 more game.
He'll play the 49ers game, and that'll be it.
That might be it then. I think he's probably shut him down. Kendall Fuller, who's had 2 concussions this year, you might be shutting him down. So there's a lot. I think, it won't all happen at once, but I think you'll see a few guys this week. If they see a few more the following week, they're going to start shutting guys down. But right now they pick 11th. I said last week, Diego, even though they beat the Jets, there's a stronger chance they go 0-4 than they do 4-0. And I still stand by that. I don't know if they'll go 0-4 because I know today Cleveland lost Chubb, and they're also just playing a lot of the kids now. They've sort of waved the white flag. I don't see us winning at the Jets because I think Rodgers is going to play out the string there. I don't see us winning at the Jets. The San Francisco game next week's at 4:20. They're talking about moving that to a 1:00 game, all depending on how the rest of this weekend shakes out, because that was supposed to be obviously a big game. San Francisco, Miami, Mike McDaniel going against Kyle Shanahan. Well, both teams stink, and the game means nothing, and they don't want that to go to the whole country at 4:25. So if they have an opportunity to move that to 1:00, they might, and they might move another game into that time slot. I think there's a Seattle game next week. They might try, all depending on how they do and such. So keep an eye on that if you plan on attending the game. But right now they're 11th. If they win one of the next 4, probably at Cleveland, because even San Francisco is going to come in next week playing for something, and they just got more talent. I think they're going to be around top 10. I don't see them falling under 13. I don't see them getting higher than like 8. They're going to be between 8 and 13 and with a pick. And I mean, who the hell knows what they do with it?
The problem with that potential thought of moving it, Mike, I just pulled up the schedule. There's no logical game you're moving.
That's the problem.
4:25 at CBS.
That's the problem. That's the problem. But hold on, NFL Week 16. There was one. Once I see it, I'll know because it was spoken about. Because you got the 2 games on Saturday because of Christmas. Which one was it? It's not Eagles Commanders. Fox has it blocked. It's not Seahawks. They wanted the Seahawks. So they wanted the Seahawks one. That might have been it. Putting that Seahawks one at 4:25.
Well, that's at 4:05 already.
Yeah, but push it back to the national game at 4:25. Move the Miami game to 4:05 and make it regional. That's maybe what they were talking, because there's no games at 1 because Fox blocked Eagles Commanders and there's no other games.
Yeah, they were trying to move that game to Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, so that is the problem there. And play along with me here, Tom, real quick.
Okay.
I know they're probably not firing the head coach. I get that.
Yep.
Let's just look. It's December 15th. Our season's over. Let's have some fun. If they did, there's only one name out there of a person I want. And I know there's a lot of issues with this person. There's a lot of issues. But there's only one guy I want. Because we can't go through this first-time head coach again thing, young hot assistant. And I think this guy is desperate to take any job for obvious reasons once I say his name. I think he'd be open to it immediately because I don't know if he has any other avenue to get a head coaching job. But if Stephen Ross has a come to Jesus moment and blows this up, new GM, new head coach, let's fix this thing. Bring me John Gruden. Bring me John Gruden. I'm tired of losing. I'm just tired of losing. Give me a guy who's a proven winner. Give me a guy who ain't going to take no BS. He knows tough. He knows physical. He ain't going to baby these guys, but he also knows offense, so I think he might be able to salvage the quarterback. I know there's lawsuits and there's a lot of issues there, but I don't know. It's not like the Flores thing. I don't know. I think he's going to find his way back at some point, and that's what this team needs. They need a proven guy. They need someone who's a tough head coach. He's not going to be friends with the players, but he's also not going to be like Flores and a total asshole. He if not for the tuck play, he probably goes to a Super Bowl with the Raiders. He did go to a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. I know he's had some losing seasons in there as well, but compared to any alternative that will come here, we're not getting Mike Vrabel, folks, okay? And plus, what the hell's he ever won? Compared to any alternative, give me John Gruden.
I would rather jump into the time machine, the DeLorean, go back to 2007 and hire Mike Tomlin.
Well, that ain't happening. You got to play the hammer down.
Listen. If they do decide to make the move, the MO for Stephen Ross has always been to go to the hot name on the market.
Well, he didn't go with the hot name on the market with Mike McDaniel because nobody else was interviewing Mike McDaniel. Nobody wanted to come here. And that was the problem because nobody wants to work for Ross. I get that. Nobody wants to work for him because he's viewed in NFL circles. I know as fans, we say, well, he's got an open checkbook. He'll pay anybody. He seems like I get it. But in NFL circles, the people who do this stuff for a living, other executives, they view him as the guy who still spoke to Harbaugh when he still had a head coach employed, who is sold off 2% to, Venus Williams. Like, he's viewed as a clown, and he's never going to shake that. And then he's also the guy who got caught for tampering, not once, but twice for Tom Brady, got caught for tampering for Sean Payton. Like, he's that guy. And, as fans, we say, who cares? Brush it off. But real NFL people are like, I ain't working for him when I got options. So we're never going to get a Mike Vrabel. You're never even going to get someone like Ben Johnson, who's like the hot name. We get, the Joe Philbins or, we get those guys. Mike Tannenbaum talked Adam Gase to come here when he was the hot name. But that's one out of how many? Tony Sparano was a guy. I mean, we don't get the hot names. We don't get anyone with experience. Give me John Gruden, who's got a lot of issues going on, and he's got like lawsuits and stuff, which whatever, tell him, look, if you told him you could be a head coach again, but you got to drop your lawsuits and stuff, trust me, he would. And I know he's going to have to do a lot of apologies and take the apology tour. He kind of already has with the jobs he's taken, his podcast, YouTube, the stuff he's doing with Barstool. It's not like he's like totally blackballed from society, but if we did, I would take someone like him because we're not getting the other ones. I mean, you got to be realistic. We're just not going to get the other ones. Look, I'm not saying it's going to happen. Mike McDaniel's our coach. He ain't getting fired. I'm just saying someone like that might be able to take the Dolphins over the hump. Mike McDaniel took us from here, and if you're listening in audio form, low level, he moved us up a notch. Now we need a guy to put us over the top, and he's already done it once in Tampa.
Yeah. I mean, he did.
We can't be worse than we are now. That's all I know.
To finalize your statement there, the team he took over in Tampa was a team
defense. I know
was the team that Tony Dungy couldn't get over the hump, and he built a very good football team there. And then Gruden goes there year one and takes them to the promised land. So I understand your sentiment there.
Yeah, I mean, let's again, it ain't happening. I'm just, folks. Our season's over on the 15th. What else are we going to talk about? I ain't talking about the San Francisco game because that game don't matter. So it's like, what else you want to talk about? Yeah, I mean, but we'll see. I don't think anything's happened with Grier, but right now, if you're keeping score at home, you have Adam Beasley and David Hyde calling for Chris Grier's head. Barry Jackson, I think, is calling for his head, but hasn't just flat out said he needs to be fired. Chris Perkins wants to give everyone one more year. And Omar Kelly wrote a very good article, which I know most fans are going to hate, saying Tua isn't him. So, folks, that's Omar. Take it up with him. I'm just telling you what's out there. But everyone, now with the season over, we can come to conclusions and everyone can start talking about what, who should stay, who should go. And aside from Chris Perkins, everyone's saying, well, somebody's got to go. And you can put me in the camp where everyone should go. I just don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. And we're going to be stuck in this mess for another stinking season. And it really is painful. It's really painful being a fan of this team because we all want them to win so bad. But
yeah, Mike, it's the circle of life being a Miami Dolphins fan, buddy. It's just what we deal with, and we deal with it every single year. Every year.
That last comment from Daryl, don't put it on the screen. It's just hilarious. So that's all for today's show. We'll have shows this week. We'll see if there's any big news. I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be some big news. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of big news about some guys being shut down for the season. And we'll see if they do anything else this week. I doubt it, but we'll see. I think if they do anything, it will be after the last game. Because just with 3 games left, I know it feels good to do something now, but I just don't see it happening.
Nope.
So keep an eye on that. Go to the website, DolphinsTalk.com, for all the latest. I wrote a new article. I got one up there. We'll have more this coming week, more shows, Josh and Aaron. Also, patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. If you like these shows, we got more of them for you. And sometimes they're not even about the Dolphins. I did a reality TV show there in the brain, 90 minutes. 90 minutes. We spoke about reality TV. Josh and Aaron, they do a show every week. I have a college football show every week. I'll do one probably again this week as we get into bowl season. We got playoff games this coming weekend. I'll do my college football show. And when we get to the off-season stuff, we'll have more non-football extra shows. Go to patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. It's only $3 a month. Sign up and get all that extra content. Plus, we have a private message board, which is it's very chill. So if you go on social media, you put something up, someone calls you like an asshole. We don't have that. It's a private chill message board. So go to patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. Sign up. Only $3 a month. Last week, we gave away a Mercury Morris autographed jersey, 17-0 inscription, only for Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. We're going to do more stuff like that moving forward. So check that out. And also follow Tom on Twitter at Dolphins Tom. Follow myself on all social media at Dolphins Talk. Christmas is coming up. Don't let this team ruin your holiday. They've ruined our lives for long enough. So, folks, as you're on the road doing that last-minute Christmas shopping, please be sure to remember that, number 1, 6, the rental cars still sucks. And number 2, we must put an end to highway profanity.
Fins up.